Welcome back to Prime Edition and to the discussion on the state of aviation in Kenya. I'm now joined by George Odwor, Head of Scheduled Services at Flight 748, to discuss the state of Kenya's aviation industry, the challenges airlines are facing, and what the sector expects from tomorrow's national budget. Thank you so much, George, for coming to the studio.
Thanks so much, Marie, and I'm really excited and happy to join you this evening.
Exactly. Karibu sana, but before we even start the discussion, maybe just tell us a little bit about George, what you do, so that now we can delve into the issues.
Okay, thanks so much. I'm George Odwor, like you have been told. I'm Head of Scheduled Services, Flight 748, and what we have said is that we just relaunched domestic operations from 1st of May, and we are flying from JKA to Mombasa, 2 flights to Mombasa, and 1 flight to Kunda. So my duty as the Head of Scheduled Services is to give the best experience to our passengers, those who are traveling with us, ensure that schedule is very stable, and then at the end of the day, we want to grow the business. Okay. Because we have just started with the 2 routes, but from the commitment and alignment from my chairman, we will be going into regional routes. This is Nairobi, Mogadishu, Nairobi, Juba, Kigali, Entebbe, and Dar es Salaam. So my duty is to grow the business. We have started with the 2 routes, but as we assess the demand, we will also expand into domestic markets, Kisumu, Malindi, and the rest.
Thank you so much, George, for that brief introduction and what you do and all that. But let's begin by just looking at the state of the aviation sector in the country.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges and opportunities?
I'll start with the opportunities. With the invention of the 47 county governments, I'll say that we have 47 mini governments. What does this mean? It means that the demand for air travel, when you compare it with the last 10 years, it has increased, because we have these staff members who are moving from one country to the other. We have the business people who are moving from one country to another. And then, what does it mean? There's a category of Kenyans who can also afford air travel. Because years back, it was very expensive, but with the support from the government, there are incentives that has really supported the airlines. Yes, it's not where we want to be, but the cost of air travel generally has given space to a number of travelers. Even the family, people who wants to go for holidays, they are able to afford. There's a category of Kenyans who are able to afford air travel to the destinations, because it's not about ticket selling. Today's travelers want to be on schedule. He wants to leave Nairobi at 6:30, like the way we do, arrive, do the business, and then come back. So if the air travel is not predictable, it's not stable, then it will not support all these different categories of travelers.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've actually mentioned, that the airfares, can I say, have become a little bit affordable, but we'll be getting to that to really understand whether the common mwananchi can actually afford
yes,
to travel at any time that they want to. But yes, we'll have that discussion just a little bit later. But let's talk about the budget reading tomorrow.
Okay.
What are some of the expectations the industry has when it comes to the budget?
Okay, thanks so much, Marie. So there's a lot of pressure on the airlines. So to operate an airline, the cost of fuel, that is the largest. And with the current cost, you have seen several airlines charging fuel surcharge because of the cost of fuel. Next is the taxation. The tax regime, the moment you import jet fuel, I know there's a government-to-government deal, but the number of taxes that are imposed on fuel, there are over 6. And then on top of that, we have the 16% VAT. So this one really, for us in aviation, coupled with the cost of the aircraft components and the spare parts, if you impose any taxation on the air part components, then this cost automatically will be passed to the travelers. And this one is coming at a time when we are just driving the numbers Yes.
And probably comfort also comes in.
Yeah.
But what do you think are some of the tax measures or levies that could actually be reviewed now that, you know, we are going into the budget reading tomorrow? What are some of those levies that you think can be reviewed to make air travel a little bit affordable to a good number of Kenyans?
Yes. With the different categories of tax regimes, we have the railway development levy, the petroleum development levy, and all this. So if these ones can be reduced or completely be removed, then the cost of fuel will be better. Then in terms of the airports, the cost of running an airline is basically in USD. It's not in Kenya shillings. So we import these spare parts, but then if you impose any taxation in these aircraft components, the leasing and the engines and all that. So what we are proposing as airlines is that we better, these components, the tax regime should really be zero rated, so that it gives the incentives to the aviation industry, which is just expanding, it's growing, because you can see from the government's perspective, last year, Kenya had around 2.7 million travelers who came to our country. But if the cost is too much, even locally, people are flying. But if you have a lot of taxation, if you are taxing the aircraft parts and the components to the range of 16%, then whatever we are targeting, because what we want is to generate and encourage so many people who are down there to afford air travel. We can only pass this benefit to the travelers if the cost is reduced. But these incentives, we hope that the minister will be able to listen, because I know he has been engaged by the stakeholders in the aviation industry, and will get incentives. Okay. That is our hope as
okay, so taxation definitely is what is pushing the airfares a little bit higher.
Yes.
And maybe some of those discussions, if you're on the at the table with some of these policymakers, would actually make it easier, you know, for local Kenyans. I mean, for the locals to be able to travel, you know, and use the airlines more, and all that. But let's delve into the issue of the expansion or currency capacity at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. It's one that the country, or at least the government, has been grappling with in terms of capacity, you know, congestion and all that. I do not know, how is this actually affecting, can I say, passenger experience and even competitiveness, you know, of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport?
Okay, thanks so much, Mary. So I'll start with we have started with the JKA. So the figures that we have from the Ministry of Tourism is that last year we had around 2.7 million travelers. And over the weekend, we were just from the aviation conference. There's a conference in Mombasa where the key speaker, the chief guest, challenged the aviation industry players to move from the comfort zone, because when you compare in the region, Ethiopia and all that, 2.7 million travelers coming into Jomo Kenyatta is far too less. So we have to be ambitious, and it is timely for the government to expand the facility, because from the players, if we can target over 10 million passengers coming into Kenya by 2035. That is, I think this one is not very conservative. These are the numbers that can be achieved. But you can only achieve this if the facility is there. Like the expansion of the runway, that one is very timely. I can also talk about Ukunda. Ukunda, there were some aircrafts that could not be used on that runway because it is very short. It has been increased from 1.1 kilometers to 1.7. So this has allowed us really to use a bigger aircraft like the Q400 that carries 78 passengers. But still, it's not where we want to be, because we want bigger aircrafts to go to destinations like Ukunda and Kakamega and Lodwar. So this one will really open up the aviation space and support. So if you have the infrastructure, then the investors will be able to, this aircraft, the investors or the airline owners will be able to bring in bigger capacity aircrafts. And this one, what does it mean? It means that your turnaround time, the number of people that you are airlifting from point A to point B is not just 12 for the caravans or 36 for the Dash 8-100 or 78 people for the Q400 aircraft. Yes, you'll be carrying so many people at a go, and this one will be more efficient for everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're just about to wind up, but I think it will be good for me to ask you this question. The Middle East crisis also has an effect on, airline operations and all that.
Yes.
So probably you could just touch a little bit on how that has actually affected Kenyan airlines.
Yes, for the Middle East crisis has directly impacted us, and the cost. You see, the way they structure the costing for fuel is that there's a term called PLAT. So this one is internationally accepted standard that controls the cost of fuel in liters, and it's the costing structure is in USD dollars per barrel. So if in the wake up of this crisis in the Middle East, the cost has doubled. What does it mean for the airlines? There's a bit of pushback from the market and all that, but then all the airlines have just been forced to really pass the cost. Like Flight 748, we have really tried to really support our passengers. So what you do, you just surcharge. There's some fuel surcharge that will just support you to continue running the cost, because like I've told you, the cost of fuel generally is very high and very prohibitive. So even if this solution, even if the Middle East crisis will be resolved, the cost of jet fuel will still take a lot of time because of the security issues. There's no, the freight charges will really take time to stabilize. But we hope that this will be resolved. Yes, thank you so much. Thank
you so much, George Odwor, Head of Scheduled Services at Fly 748, speaking to us about the state of aviation in the country and the expectations the industry has in as far as the budget presentation is concerned tomorrow. And I will still hold you to that. We want to travel more by air. Tumechoka na kuenda 12 hours for some of us. So, but all the same, we've understood what you've talked about and some of the challenges that the aviation industry is facing in as far as airfares, taxation, and all that is concerned. And we really hope to have you back to just talk more about the aviation industry. For now, you'll allow me to take a break, and my colleague, that is Alan Aoko, is on standby. He'll be bringing you up to speed with matters business.